and welcome back once again. In today's video I want to show us how to couple our basic senator outfit. Now in this video I'm using an Ankara material. It's still the same process. All you need to know is how to go about it. Now I believe you all must have seen how to cut the senator top, the front block, the back block, the facings, the flap and the sleeve. Now we are going to use a short sleeve in this video illustration. So now the essence of this video is to show you how to go about the coupling processes. Now this is my facing, which I believe I must have shown us how to cut the facing, and then convention will tell you that the facing must be above 6 inches, and then for this particular one I'm having it at 8 inches facing. Why will it be 6 inches? Because you're going to have a 6 inches plastic opening here. So having done that, now you bring your front block, you face it down, you put your facing inside of your front block. You're going to sew the neck line circumference, do your slit opening, and then you push outside. So now the sewing should not be above or should not be more than 0.5, that's half an inch. So like I told us in the video I did in the cutting processes, I use 0.3 to do my neckline sewing. Then you must sew in this form. Whenever you're sewing your neckline, you have to be very patient and very careful, so you will not change the shape of your neckline with sewing. Then having sewn that, the next thing you're going to do now is you notch the center of your front block, you notch, and then you take your chalk. Now you take your chalk, measure from the line you have sewn 6 inches down. 6 inches. For all grown-ups, 6 inches. For kids, 5. So 6 inches. Now make sure that you're facing whatever you have done, is it a straight line facing or V-like facing? Make sure that the V-like nature is at the center of the block. That's why you must iron. Then you sew from the inside. Now when you come to the point you mark for 6 inches, you pin your needle, you turn the direction. You have to make 1, 2, 3 dots movement with your machine needle, and then you come up again. Then when you have done that, you now slit the center of your sewn line. You slit the center of your sewn line. You notch, give it a V-like cutting here. It helps to relax the neck. And then you notch the neckline circumference as well. You notch it properly. And then this notching should not cut the thread you have sewn on your neckline. And then make sure that you sew at a reasonable extent so that it won't pull off the nearest picture. Then having sewn that now, so what you just have to do next is you push it outside. You turn it as well, push it outside, and then it comes in this form. It comes in this form. It comes in this form, and then in a normal circumstances you should iron, but whereby you don't want to iron, you can as well use your hand to arrange it very well. So you start from the shoulder line, you sew it down to the front block. You sew it down to the front block. Then when you're coming down, you make sure that the edge here is evenly relaxed. Don't allow the material to come outside, neither will this one go inside. Make it to be at a relaxed position. This is how it should be, at a relaxed position, this way. Then at this point you decide if you are going to sew tip to tip or if you are going to sew an inch away from the folding. So in most cases I like to sew tip to tip. Then make sure when you're closing your facing, you have a neat sewing, because this is part of the finishing we are looking for. And then you go over to this other side, you pin your needle as well. Take your time to arrange the body of the senator outfit. Now the reason why I'm having another material as a facing is because the trouser of this material is this color, so I use it as a facing. So when you are sewing at this point now, you see that you're having it properly fixed. You make sure you lock everything. Now you can now see that we have fixed our facing, and then we have turned the neck, and then this is the outcome of what we just did. Now the next thing you're going to do now is to fix your flap. You get. So now the flap, which I told us in the previous videos I did, that the measurement of our flap is 4 inches width, 4 inches, then by the length of your choice, but then the length should be anything from 13 inches upwards. Yeah, so this flap I'm having now is 20. I'm still yet to cut it as well. So then you make sure that the flap is folded, is gummed already. After gumming, you have to weave this edge. Now at the finishing of the flap folding should be 1.5. It should not be more than 1.5. It should be 1.5 inches, 1.5 inch from the edge to this edge, 1.5, and then it must be straight. It must be straight. So having known this now, I will go and weave this one edge. I will tell you the sense of the weaving. Okay, so right now I have weaved. As you can see, I have weaved it. So my weaving is not that smooth, but you must weave. Then after weaving, then you must notch. Now there's one particular thing you need to know. As you can see, the weave part is facing the left hand side, so yours as well should face that direction. So after you have weaved, now you open it up, put it in your machine. Then you must first of all bend the weave part towards your direction, and then bend the unweave part the other way around. And then when you finish bending it that way, you sew. Now this sewing should be at least half an inch or thereabout. Now after sewing, you cut off the excess of it. Then you turn the edge inwards. You turn it inwards. Then when you turn it inwards, then in most cases you're now required to go and hem, put a hemming gun. But in some situations whereby either you don't have hemming gun or you don't want to use hemming gun, you can as well use sewing to close the flap. So you start from the down part of the flap, you sew half an inch away from the edge. Now this is called a decorative stitch to make a flap look fanciful. And then when you get to the tip as well, you continue with that half an inch decorative stitch. Then you go down as well. You make sure that your flap is being sewn properly. Then after that, the next thing you're going to do now is to fix the flap to the outfit. And then how do you now fix? You place your front block this way, then you put the flap on top. Make sure that you are holding the slitted parts together. It must be held together. Use the flap to put at the center of the slits. Put at the center of the slits, you get, and then you push up the other one in front of you. Use the one towards you. You pin your machine downwards. You sew, and then when you pin the machine the other way, you now turn it this way, and then put back the other part to make sure that your flap is at the center of the slit, so that you avoid the situation whereby your flap will go sideways or the other way around. So you must make sure that your flap is demarcating the slit opening here. So you hold it down this way. You cannot remove this part, and then you sew. Then when sewing this flap, know that this flap is part of your finishing, so you must give it a nice stitch and the perfect finish. And then you sew down. As you're sewing down, you look at the iron part of your clothes. Make sure that the flap is at the center of the iron part of your clothes. And then when you sew to an extent, you now decide on the length of flap you want to have as your finishing length. So you measure from the tip of the neck. I told you that the least you can have is 13. So I'm having it for all grown-ups. For kids, you reduce the measurement. So I want to have it at I'll cut at 16 and a half. And then from this point, I now make my V-like flap folding. And then you can decide to cut inside, remove the excess inside to enable you have an easy fold or folding. Then when you fold it this way, you fold this as well this way. So right now, you must make sure that your flap is fixed in a nice position. So right now, you have it properly tucked in, and then you sew. When sewing your flap, you have to be patient enough. Don't be in a haste to sew it. Take your time. Then when you get to this point, before you sew and come up, make sure that the flap and the material left over this side is there in the same length. Don't allow it to surpass this way or go in this way. Hold it this way. If possible, you pin here for you to be more perfect. You take your pin, you pin this point. Now the essence of this pinning is to enable you have a nice outcome. Now when you pin, you now hold firmly and now sew. So coming to this point now, you now go up. Now once you are coming up, bear in mind that there's a particular point you must stop. Now your stopping must be that point that your slit opening ended. Don't surpass it. It must be on or before that point. On or before. Now coming this way and now lock your stitch that way. So this is how you can fix your flap, turn your neckline and do your slit opening for your senator outfit. So as you can see now, we have achieved a little success on this our outfit. So the next thing you're going to do now is to sew the back facing as well and go ahead to join. Right now I want to fix my label. If you have a label, this is the time you fix. But then if you don't have a label, you can go ahead and sew. So when you get your label, fold into 2 equal parts. It must be at the center of the back cloth, or the inside of the back cloth. When you fold into 2 equal parts, you put it down. The position it will be from the neckline tip 1.5 or 2 inches down. That's where your label should be. 1.5 or 2 inches down. So within 1.5 to 2 inches, any point you put your label is ideal. So this is where my label is now. And then you sew your label. Now when you get to this point of fixing label, just know that you have achieved a lot. Then when you get the label fixed, the next thing you're going to do next is your neckline and back closing with your back facing. So I have fixed my label, and then I want to now close the back neckline. So how then do we do that? take your facing, bear in mind that you must have gummed this area as well, and then you must have gummed the front part of the back body. So after you must have gummed those areas with your material gum or cloth gum or cloth stay, whatever name you use to know it in your area, then you hold it firmly this way. As well, repeat a replica sewing on the neckline you did on the front, on the back. So when you sew, don't exceed 0.5. All those sewing we are calculated when you're making your neckline cutting. Then when you get your sewing done properly, don't change the shape of the neckline with your sewing. Maintain the same curvy-like effect you have. So when you must have finished sewing, you also notch. The notching helps to reduce the tension on the back neckline so that you will have a relaxed neck. Failure to notch, you have to battle your way ironing out for it to be relaxed. So having seen this now, I believe all of us can now go ahead and practice what you have seen in this video in our sewing. And then if you have any other issue, I believe this video will clarify you more on how to go about it. So now, having sealed the neck, it's advised that you iron, and then after the ironing part, you make it to be relaxed. And then the next thing we are going to do now is to join the shoulder of our back to the front. Then how best do we join this? There is what we call sealing the shoulder, meaning that the jointed part should not be seen inside. It should be hidden in between the facing. So how then do we do that? You remove your pin here, you hold your front block with the real back body, and then place it at the edge of the neckline. Then turn the back facing to the front. Yeah, repeat watching the part very well, you'll get what I'm saying. So when you turn it this way, you hold it firmly. Make sure that the three are equal. They must be equal. And then you put your shoulder line to the machine. You are going to sew not more than half an inch, because it was already programmed to be joined with half an inch. That was why we used 3 inches and 2.5 in raising. Now when you have gotten to this point of joining your shoulder, you know that your problem is coming to an end. And then the next thing you're going to do next is as well to repeat the process on the other side of the shoulder. You also insert the shoulder, the front body, in between the back facing and the back body, and then you hold it firmly this way, and then you sew. This is one of the easiest ways you can do it. Then you sew as well half an inch. Then this is how we do our joining of the shoulder. Then after that, it's advised that you trim off the edge here. This trimming helps you to have a relaxed edge, so when you're ironing, it won't have any shine effect on the front part of the clothes. So you trim it off. While trimming, don't cut off the edge of the sewn part. Then you push it outside, then draw out the neck, draw it out this way, and then you can see that we have basically formed our senator outfits. And then what is remaining next now is to lock the back facing. After you have locked the back facing, you now go to trim the shoulder and now fix your sleeves. So this is the gradual process and the easiest way you can go about sewing this. Bear in mind that my method is not trying to dispute any other method you know. I'm just trying to show you another way to do some other things in a different way. So don't compare method A and method B, because no two methods are alike. But at the end of the day, we all will arrive at the same method outfit. So this method I'm using now is peculiar to me and my students online. So having said this, then having seen this as well, then you now lock the shoulder, the back facing. And then how then do you lock? You start from the shoulder tip. You make sure that your facing is relaxed. Don't allow it to pop up and have air. No, make sure it's relaxed. Draw it and flatten it, make it to be relaxed, then start from the shoulder tip, then sew at the tip of the shoulder. The essence of this sewing is to make you to have a firm grip of this facing. Then when you get to the down part of the facing, you must make sure you pin your needle. When you pin your needle, you bend your facing inwards. Make sure that everything is relaxed. Then once you're having a relaxed finishing or relaxed effect, and then you start sewing. Then when you start sewing as well, you make sure that the facing is relaxed. Use your hand to smoothen everything. Then when you're sewing, please make sure you give it a straight line sewing. Don't give it a zigzag or a rough sewing. Make sure it's relaxed. Go gradually. Then when you have gotten to this point, I believe you must be happy with yourself and with the whole learning process. Then bear in mind that for you to be perfect in this, you must repeat this over and over again. When you're watching the video, take your time to watch this video, digest it, and then sew off heart. Don't have the video beside you when you watch more, you sew. No, that's not learning. You're just copying what I'm doing. Just learn it. Learning means know it without seeing the source of the knowledge. So right now, we have finished this part. So what we're going to do next is to iron before we fix our sleeves. So right now, I have gotten to the table, and then you now take the iron, you iron the shoulder part. It must be relaxed in this form. You take your time to do it. It must be relaxed in this form, and then when you make it relaxed, you get it properly done this way. And then the essence of this ironing so that you have a relaxed form, a relaxed body. Then you fold into two this way, and then you trim your shoulder. And then in trimming your shoulder, there are two things you need to consider. Don't trim excessively, neither should you trim insignificantly. So what you have to do now is to trim the shoulder. Then in trimming, you must make use of the person's shoulder measurements plus extra 0.3 to trim. Then let me give my scissors and show you how to trim. So right now I want to trim my shoulder. When you have folded it this way, you measure from the back neck side. The shoulder is 19. 19 is 9.5. We know, right? Then you're not going to cut at this 9.5. You add extra 0.3 to the that's 9.8. What I mean by 9.8 is 9 inches plus 8 dots. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dots. That here. That's what you're going to cut. And then I will as well take my time to show us how to read the tape in my own way of reading my tape. So this is 9.8. That's 19 inches plus 0.3. Yeah. And then you trim. Now this trimming, you are not going to encroach more on this part. What you're trimming off should not be more than 1.5. So maximum I use is 1.5, but because I have trimmed when cutting, and then as well before I fix my sleeve I trim. So I would suggest you trim 1 inch, not 1 inch from the shoulder, 1 inch from the armhole area. Then you now bend it to rhyme totally with the shoulder mark you have made. So this is the point you're going to trim, and then you allow as well to use the tape to measure to know the exact trimming effect you're going to have. Then coming to the trimming down part, don't exceed the armhole of the front jumping. So that's the point. The armhole, two of them should lap. And then there are different methods of doing this. Some people will tell you that the two armholes should not be the same length or width. Yes, it's true. This method as well is true. So all methods works. It all depends on the one you deem fit to use. So right now I have trimmed, and then you notch your shoulder. After notching, this is how it will look like. This is how it will look like. Then you're now going to fix your sleeve and then close the body of the clothes. Okay, now this is my short sleeve. I have shown us how to cut a short sleeve, and then whatever you have to your outfit, it doesn't really matter, be it a long or a short sleeve. So you're also going to sew this area down, hold it down in this form, and then as well you bring it up as well, bring this one as well, fold it, then you also sew. Then all this sewing as well very important. So right now, after you must have sewn your sleeves, whether you're putting long sleeve or short sleeve, the same sewing process is applicable to each of them. And then you get it this way, and then I will start fixing my sleeve now. Now the fixing will come from the point I notched, very important. And then you are as well bound to notch the sleeve points, the both of them. You're bound to notch them, and then when you notch them, you have it positioned in the part you want. So right now, the point you notched is where you're going to put your sleeve from. So the two notch points should merge. When they merge, you now join your sleeve. Remember, you use 0.3, and then if by any case you used to use half inch to sew, there's no problem. That means you're going to use half inch to add to your shoulder when trimming. So by the time you sew, the half inch will go off and your shoulder will remain the same. And then in joining our sleeves, it's best joint half. That's from half of the shoulder down part to the half of the shoulder. This material is a bit stretchy. It's a bit stretchy. Then after you have joined your shoulder, your sleeve to your shoulder, the next thing you're going to do now is you as well join the other part. You as well join this other part. We all must have seen this video, and then when you see, the next thing you're going to do is to master it, learn it, cram it, duplicate whatever I'm doing here over and over again. Don't be in a haste. So now make sure that these videos are properly saved. Save them, because you might not have the chance to get them anymore after I have sent it to the WhatsApp classes. Save them in a hard drive so that you won't lose them. Now the sleeve was not getting to the shoulder because the material was not enough. I will close it, and then just come out to see it. Then after you must have joined your sleeve, this is how it will come out to be. So I will do the other sleeve and then show you when I'm closing. So right now, after you must have fixed the sleeves, next thing you're going to do now is to weave the inside, then before you now go to closing. So I will go and weave and now show you how to close. So right now I have weaved my armhole, and then the next thing you're going to do now is to pin. So I will show you how the pinning is done and then show you how to close. So right now we are going to pin. So the pinning, you must hold the two sleeves together, then you pin properly. This pinning is very important as well. You pin properly, and then you make sure that the armhole are rhyming. Make sure it's rhyming as well. When it's rhyming, you pin at that point. You pin here, and then you come down towards the tummy area a bit down. You pin as well. So you're going to repeat this pinning as well in the other side, and then before you start locking. So right now I want to close. Now the chest is 44. So now from the center of the body, that's where you ironed, from the center you position it this way. You mark 44 by 2 and by 4 is 11. 44 by 4 is 11, and then you as well come down a bit. 44 by 4 as well is 11. So from the center point you ironed, 44 by 4 is 11. From the center as well, 44 by 4 is 11. So then from your armhole, you now, I told us that normal measurement is 13 inches. From the armhole, I'm choosing to use 15 for him because he's a bit tall, and then this is a bit a longer top length. And then as well, from the armhole as well here, you also mark 15. So you now take your ruler to join the other one. So now you take your ruler from this point, you join with a straight line. As well, you join here as well with a straight line. Then you now go to the sleeve. The sleeve is 15. That's 15 by 2 is 7.5. 7.5. 15 by 2 is 7.5. You mark at 7.5. So you are going to now lock the outfit. After locking, the next thing is to fold, and then that's the end of the top. Then you lock the outfit 15, 7.5. So let's go to lock. So right now, from the point of your round sleeve 15 inches you marked, you stitch, and then look at what I'm doing. You must straighten the sleeve to tally with the chest line you marked. Don't make it a curvy like sewing, make it a straight line sewing. It must come from the point of 15 inches you marked, or whatever sleeve measurement you have, from that point straight on to the armhole. Then, having done that, your joint part of the sleeve must face towards the sleeve. You sew. You sew. You sew. Then that point you mark, you must stitch very well. You must stitch very well. And then you go over to the other side. Then you must start from the down part. You start from the down part of this one. Then you start from here as well.